Hey, we're Major League.
And you're on Rock Forever magazine.
Hey guys, it's Tori from Rock Forever magazine, and I'm here right now with Major League. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
We were just talking about this, but we're kind of in the middle of the Disney magic today. You're playing a House of Blues in downtown Disney.
Yeah.
So have you guys been checking out the scenery at all, enjoying it so far?
We haven't really gotten a chance. We got here pretty late. We drove through the night last night from Tallahassee, got here at like 6 a.m., slept till 1, and then got some Wawa, and then came over. So we just loaded in and then came out, and
we'll probably venture for a couple hours.
Yeah, you definitely have to, and it's like a perfect day outside, so
oh yeah,
definitely.
It's snowing back home where we're from.
So welcome to Florida, the Sunshine State. No snow ever. Well, we're gonna start with a few fun finished sentence for you guys.
Okay.
All right. Now, the craziest moment on tour happened when?
Vegas.
Wait.
Of course it would be in
This
Vegas.
tour, right? This
I
tour?
mean, any tour.
Oh,
Just craziest in general tour story.
Okay. Yeah, probably your Vegas story was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I got married.
You got married to the
Legitimately?
drummer of
Well, it was on.
it was by Elvis.
Yeah.
And a
An Elvis
stormtrooper was
impersonator.
the best man.
We have it on video, so I guess
Yeah.
that's like some type of.
Legitimacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah.
sounds like something that would only happen in a TV show.
It happened at 3 a.m. So there was maybe some alcohol was involved, and we made some bad
Just maybe.
decisions. Just maybe. But yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good time. And next one here, the most nostalgic song in your music library is... I'm sure each of you guys might have different ones here, so...
Most nostalgic song. I would have to say Frank Sinatra, Fly Me to the Moon.
Good one. I feel like anybody would feel nostalgic listening to Sinatra.
Yeah, my mom and I used to do Sinatra Sundays when I was little, and we used to listen to Sinatra and clean the house on Sundays, and which at the time I hated. It used to drive me crazy, but as I got older, now when I'm driving early mornings or something, going to get my coffee, I put on Frank Sinatra and just kind of drive around. But Fly Me to the Moon, I don't know, something about that song just always makes me feel like a kid. So
Mine would probably be Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf, because that's what my parents would listen to on long drives. Coming from Disney even, they would always have that album, and I don't know, it just reminds me of family vacations.
Yeah. And next one here, your secret talent is...
oh God.
Can you juggle, do any of that kind of weird stuff?
I can clap with one hand.
Okay, go.
I can't do that.
You seem so happy while you do that
so
too.
excited when I get to do it. It's I have to concentrate a little bit, so but yeah.
That's amazing. I feel like I need a lesson now. I really want to know how you do that.
I have no idea.
I've been trying.
It just
I still
happens.
can't. I don't know
Same,
how to do it. Yeah.
That's all we got. What about you? Do you have any secret talents or anything?
I don't know.
I heard you can play music pretty good.
Not pretty good. I can skate, skateboard, I guess.
See, that's something. That's
I don't know,
definitely
you're
something.
randomly good at sports.
I can jump really high. I can
he's
run
just,
pretty fast.
I don't know. He's really, really athletic at random times. It's oh, I don't know. I've never played this before, and then wins every game. So I don't know.
Can
I feel
jam. I'm good at can jam.
pretty good at drinking too.
I'm good at drinking too.
You're a little guy, but you hold your alcohol better than any of the bigger guys on this tour.
See, those are all secret talents.
Yeah,
all
okay.
valid ones.
You actually might be the most talented person in the band.
I
Actually.
might be.
Now, the more we think about it, right? And last one here, the highlight of your career so far was when?
Highlight of our career so far. Probably two different types of instances. Once has to be on this tour. We played Long Island, and that to me, I don't know, something about that show that will just always stand out in my mind. We've been touring for 4.5 years now, and it just, I don't know, that tour, that show, we played Long Island probably close to 25 times, and it just blew me away. I don't know, just something about the show, just the environment. It was the first night, I asked the fans touring from states away, I asked them to put their cell phone lights in the air, and they were swaying their arms with the cell phone light, and it just blew me away. It was a sea of cell phone lights, and it was just one of those crazy moments. I was wow, I never ever thought as a kid that I would be experiencing that. Either that or the first time we went to Japan. Just because we went way before, we hadn't even been to Canada yet. Like we'd only toured the US once and we had like signed with Ice Grills over there and they took us over in 2011 and it was kind of
pulled that off.
Yeah, it was so like new to us and like so just going from like just touring the US like once or twice and then instantly right over to Japan and like you're on the complete opposite side of the world.
Right.
That to me was kind of like, well, we got here, we can kind of
feel like
get a
you
little
can kind
bit,
of do anything now.
Yeah, you kind of feel like at that point, like maybe we can kind of do anything. I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So those were probably two like defining moments and for me with the band.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bands say that Japan is sort of like a highlight of the career just because it's so different from anywhere else.
I mean, it's a complete culture shock. You know, going over to like Europe and stuff, like everything's very Americanized now, and like, but there, it's just there's nothing in America.
Whole
So
different
it's
world.
it's crazy.
I think it's the fact that like even before, like we joined a band, like no one ever expects to just like go over to Japan or like any countries in general. But I don't even think.
I mean, we were blown out of our minds, crazy psyched that we made it to California that August. And then in December, we were in Japan. It was kind of like, you know, I don't think we ever thought we were going to make it to California. So, that I think was the craziest.
Yeah, and so for anybody who's unfamiliar with music, doesn't know you guys too well, your music is classified as pop punk. So what do you think, what elements of your music are you adding that separates you from other bands in your genre?
Well,
I think you say it best.
Yeah. I started doing like some interviews where like people like try and say like, oh, what makes you stand out? And it's Brian, Kyle, Luke, and myself. No other band has that. And other bands can try and sound like other bands, but we just want to make music that we feel just like feels right. I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. People always ask, like, I always hear other bands say all the time, like, yeah, dude, we just want to be the next Newfound Glory. We want to like, be the next Blink-182. It's like, I just want to be the first Major League. I just want to do us. And if it sounds like something else, like, of course, like, you know, there's only so many chords on a guitar. There's so many, you know what I mean? Like,
influences are for.
Yeah, influences are, you know, exactly for that reason. It's kind of like, yeah, you're going to sound like other stuff, but all in all, like, it's not. We're not covering those songs. It's our own stuff. So I think, like, you know, that's my favorite when I hear him say that, though. I heard him say that in an interview, and it just kind of like, it's absolutely right. Like, that's exactly the best answer that when people ask, like, well, what sets you apart? Or, like, what would you say, like, sets yourself apart from other bands? Kind of like, no other band has these four people. Like, you can't replicate that. These, you know, no matter how hard you try, no one's ever going to play the leads. They could play the same exact leads the same exact way, but it's not going to be the way he plays it. It's not going to have the same feel. It's not going to have the same emotion. And it goes for any of us playing the instruments and stuff. So I think that's like the best answer.
Yeah, and I mean, just automatically, just being individuals makes you unique. So it's glad that you're taking advantage of that rather than trying to copy someone else.
Like, that's what makes a band what it is like everyone's personal, like, unique talents that like is brought together. It's not like someone who can play a guitar and play a pop punk chord or someone who could play like a blast beat on drums. It's just how you guys are as people together, and I think that's what really makes like the music speak for itself.
Yeah. And your album There's Nothing Wrong With Me is out now. Can you tell us a little more about the inspiration behind the title and the artwork?
Yeah, the artwork is it's a Rorschach test, like an ink blot test.
Right.
And that was more so because the record talks about a lot. I grew up with dealing with depression and chemical imbalances and all that. And when I had taken over, like, I guess, like, the lead vocalist role, I didn't want to step in and, like, fill somebody else's shoes. You know what I mean? I want to make the band mine. I want to make it because I was just the guitarist of this band. And now that I'm going to be singing these songs, I don't want to just be singing songs. I want to kind of bring people into my world. You know what I mean? Like, bring people into, like, what this band is now about. And so it was kind of like, I'm going to put it all out on the line. I'm going to put it out there and be as real as possible for the first release as me singing and stuff, because I feel like it's going to set the tone for what the rest of this band's catalog is going to look like. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not all going to be about depression or anything. It's just that's been such a huge staple in my life that I've dealt with for so long that I felt like that needs to be the first thing, because if I can get over that, then I can talk about anything. And so, which was definitely hard, but so we did the Rorschach test, which is like a huge thing you go through when dealing with like depression and stuff, and you know, just like self-analysis and all that. And we felt like it'd be something cool because everybody that picks up the record is going to see something different in the artwork. Like, you know, it's just an image of ink splattered. So, your mind's whatever state your mind is in, whether you're happy, sad, confused, angry, you're going to see something different in the artwork. And so I think that's something that we've really loved about it. And the album title actually came from our manager, just talking to him. We had a few names that we were circulating around, and one thing that he and I had talked about, he kept saying to me, there's nothing wrong with you, right? It's just some people are puddles, some people are oceans, some people are just deeper than others, and it's all about what makes us who we are and how we are and why we are and what we are and all that. And just talking about all that, later that night he sent the bands like a text and was like, hey, what do you guys feel about calling your record There's Nothing Wrong With Me? And we kind of felt like, it really sums up what the record is about, you know what I mean? Like, because you listen to the record and it kind of seems like, this kid seems a little fucked up. Like, what the hell's going on with him here? You know what I mean? Like, but, you listen to it and it's kind of like, there is a lot that sounds like I'm just like whining about stuff, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's just things that just needed to be put out there in order for me to be able to move forward. And so I think that was like a perfect way to sum up the record, is kind of like, after you listen to the whole thing, keep in mind, like, not just me or Matt, Kyle, or Luke, like, there's nothing wrong with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, everybody goes through their own things, and it was just kind of like the record as a whole, I think, felt summed up nicely with the artwork and name, so.
Yeah, that was a great explanation there. And no, and the lyrics are very personal, like you're saying, and it was something you just needed to put out there. But what about your fans? How are you hoping you're going to impact them, and what was just the ultimate goal with releasing this?
I don't know. I feel like there's two different types of fans out there, where one type is going to appreciate anything we have to say or put out there to them, and then there's going to be that other type who's like, oh, well, it's not like how Brian said, like, they're going to see it as him just like complaining, and they're going to want like, oh, well, it's not latching on to me because like you're not talking about this or you're not talking about that. Like, I mean, all of his words, like, it's not like we're like writing or making the music to please fans. It was like, we do that because it makes us feel good. Like, this is just what we want to do, and if it can help other people when they listen to it, then that's great. And if it doesn't help you and you just still like the music, then that's great too. But we do it for ourselves, like, not to sound selfish in a way, but I mean, we don't write stuff just to attract a crowd or attract fans,
I definitely see what you're saying there. And I know you also mentioned that this is the first album that you took over the vocals. So how did that influence the creative process, and what was it like for you guys to adjust to that change?
It wasn't really adjusting.
Yeah, it wasn't so much adjusting as much as we kind of like, and this was like, I need to put this out there that, like, I get misquoted sometimes. People think that I'm like trying to personally attack or anything. It's totally nothing against like our previous singer, anything like that. Like, we had so much fun with him. It was great, and the run we had with him was so fun. It's more so when writing with him, like, I wrote most of the lyrics and melodies and all that stuff. So it was kind of like we were writing around what he could do and how he could sing and his vocals and all that. Whereas this record, we kind of took a step back. We're like, okay, what's the band finally want to do? We don't have that pressure of like having to write for somebody else and what they're going to sing. So the vocals were the last thing to get done. I had notebooks filled with lyrics and all that kind of stuff, because my lyrics it's just my daily struggle. It's just what I write down. You know what I mean? It's not like I sit down and I'm like, okay, this song's gonna be about this, song's gonna be about that. So it was more so we sat down and we took a few months, just sat there all together and just instrumentally just wrote the record and whatever we wanted to play, and I'll work vocals around it. We'll work around and I'll let the song kind of drive how I feel about things. And I think that's the kind of take that we took on it this time around, rather than like, okay, we have this guitar part and this set of lyrics, let's try and put it together and sing it this way, and this is how it's going to be, and we got ourselves a song.
And it's even like before, like when we had like a previous singer, like us, like how Brian said, like when we would come up with like a melody, like, oh, it should be sung this way. It's like how we said before with someone playing like my guitar parts. It's not going to be played the way that I play it, and it's not going to be performed the way that I perform it. So the way that we wanted it to be done and sang, it would never be able to be done exactly the way that we feel like it should be done.
Right.
Because it's just like humanly impossible. Like, he could have sang like the right melodies and been 99.9% there, but that 0.1% would have been like, it's still not right. It's still not coming out the way it needs to be, the the way it needs to be said.
Yeah, I think a lot of our criticism before was people saying like this band feels insincere, or it just sounds like they're singing songs. And it was kind of like, well, yeah, because he is. Like, they're not actually his songs. You know what I mean? And it was like we prided him on that, because he's still, in my book, like, the way when I would listen back to the songs, I still felt the emotion. I still felt like, man, you killed it. This is great. Like, but I think it did lack some sort, because he was just singing somebody else's song. So in a way, for the past 3 years before this, we were just a major league cover band. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like we were covering songs that were pre-existing that somebody else was just kind of singing. So I think that is the biggest transition that we've like faced through this whole process, is like kind of having this identity now. Like, having a face to what is really going on rather than a spokesman of what's going on.
Yeah.
So
I know there were, when I was doing my research, there were a lot of misconceptions about, you know, the singer situation, but I can totally see how, like, if you're singing about experiences that you lived, I mean, it's a completely different ball game. And one of the tracks that stood out to me was Kaleidoscopes. Can you tell us a little more about the story behind that?
Yeah, Kaleidoscopes is more so just a song about like growing up and stuff. It was you know, like just about the firsts in life, like just like growing up and like spending the summers with my friends, and then getting my license for the first time, and like getting in my first car accident, and getting it, you know, like your first love, and like all that stuff, and like your neighborhood friends, and like I don't know, just kind of like this past like, well, not this past summer, the last summer, like I just kind of went through this very like missing all those old times type thing, and like so I think that's kind of where Kaleidoscope stemmed from. But once we got into the studio, it was actually our producer Will, who was kind of like, hey, why don't we change each chorus so the song kind of like gradually like goes along with the story as it goes, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of like the first chorus ends with the first verse, and then the second chorus goes with the second verse, and then the bridge and the ending chorus kind of like, so like it kind of tells the story as it goes. And so we kept the melodies the same, but the lyrics changed throughout the whole song. So
yes. And you also just released a video for Just As I Am. How'd you guys come up with that concept, because it looked pretty heavy?
Well, me and Brian were coming back. Was it just me and you, or was Kyle in the car too?
No, Mike was.
Mike, okay, yeah, our other friend. And we were listening to the record. We had just gotten the record back, and we were thinking like, oh, what kind of videos should we do for like what songs? And Just As I Am came on, and in my head, I started seeing like this being like placed in like a church, and like kind of have like a dark feeling and like a dark setting, almost kind of like Helena from My Chemical Romance, how that music video, just like that kind of setup and like layout. And then I was like, Brian, play that song back one more time. And then, so we did it again, and I was like thinking of it, and then I was like, I told him the idea. I'm like, hey, what if we kind of set it around a church? And he's like, I was thinking the same thing, and then you came.
Yeah, and then I was thinking the same thing, but because the song is about my struggle with religion, and it's more so my struggle with not believing in the church, not as much as like a God type thing, and I kind of like had mentioned to him, like, what do you think about everybody wearing white masks and it being like almost like a funeral procession, but at the end of the video, like, because my whole thing is like, I kind of don't believe in an afterlife or anything. I just kind of think we just die and that's it, and it sucks. Like, I don't want to think that way. It's just kind of how it is, and like, but I kind of feel like your legacy is like the people you touch here on earth, and like what you do here is what like really matters. So like at the end of the video, having the priests like blow the ashes onto the faces, and like the ash covering the white on the faces, kind of like that's where your legacy is left. And like, so we kind of like rolled with that, and then from there we talked to our manager about it, and he was kind of like, wow, that's really dark and effed up, let's do it. We're like, okay, cool. So, but it kind of makes a statement, you know, because I mean, you know, for like you said earlier, we're classified as a pop punk band, so people are expecting like a party video of just like house party,
garage band,
and it was kind of like, well, this record really isn't about that. Like, yeah, we might be classified as pop punk because we're a punk band with popular, yeah, exactly, yeah,
because the internet says
because
so.
the
That's
internet says
honestly,
so, yeah.
yeah.
So, but it's kind of like, you know, this record is more than that. It has more depth than that, and you know, we wanted to portray that, and we just kind of felt like the first video should make a statement. It shouldn't be just like your typical like figured they'd release this, you know. So, which you know, which kind of gave people mixed feelings, you know, which is what we liked.
Yeah, some people got the whole idea that we wanted to kind of move in a different direction, like a more rock driven direction, and other people are like, this is the worst pop punk record in the world, because it's not pop punk record. Like it's a major league record. Like I mean, no matter what kind of music we end up like, if our next record, if we go completely hardcore, guess what? It's still going to be major league. Like but I mean, some kids get that, some kids don't, and that's just the way the world works, I guess. Unfortunately.
No, I really appreciate though that you guys are trying to transcend these genres, because I think a lot of bands get stuck in boxes these days with the whole pop punk thing, you know?
I mean, that's the best part about this tour. I mean, that's like, you know, there's a band like Paris who sounds like an arena band, and then seriously, they're incredible, and they sound like an arena rock band whether they play a tiny little bar or a house of blues. This band sounds huge every night. And then you have us where we're only used to playing bars and like, you know what I mean, like these small like club venues and stuff. And then Tonight Alive, who is from Australia and has played major tours and venues all over the world, and then Mayday, who's built this empire. And it's just kind of like, you know, this tour feels so diverse musically, but you know, people-wise, it's great. It's amazing. It's like one of the best tours. And then we have a tour coming up in, you know, January, where people were like, Major League's on a Silverstein tour. That's so weird with Beartooth. Like they don't fit that bill, and like it's kind of like good. Why would we like? Why do we want to sound like? Why would we want to play a show or a tour where we're out for 6 weeks with 5 bands where kids can't remember who they heard that night because every single band sounded the same? And it's kind of like, why would we want to do that? I want to be on a bill where like, even if it doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth, people are like, man, that second band, Major League, like they're still talking about it. It's kind of like they were weird on that bill, and for some reason I can't get it out of my head. It like pissing me off that band played second tonight. Like, but that's good. Like I'm glad that it affects you that way. Like
if Slipknot came to us and was like, hey, you guys want to do a tour together? Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
like
why? That.
But then you have like, why in the world would they be with that band? They don't sound like that band. Like it's not, a tour isn't supposed to all sound the same.
Yeah, we got a lot of slack. We played with the Ghost Inside in April, and then right after that we played with and I Killed the Prom Queen, and then right after that we played with The Day to Remember, and everybody was like, you don't fit this bill, like you guys don't even fit these bands, like, and it was like,
you getting this?
We got that.
I hope he found his car. But yeah, it just blows my mind. It's just kind of like growing up, like I went to shows that were so crazy diverse, and like, you know, I went and saw The Used with.
You done?
Good?
Okay.
Went and saw The Used with H2O and 30 Seconds to Mars and Alexis on Fire. It was like the craziest show, and it was like one of the best shows I've ever been to, because like no band sounds the same. You get like, it's like 5 shows in one, you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like, I don't know, I just don't get the whole, like music's music to me, you know what I mean? Like I just don't get the whole like separating genres and like this band doesn't fit. What do you mean it doesn't fit? We're both doing the same shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's playing the same music. We're all sleeping in vans. Like every band's doing the same thing. Relax. So yeah.
And you led me great to my next question, because you are on this tour with Mayday right now. Tonight's the last night of the tour, so what are your plans for right after this? What's coming up?
Going home.
I know you got the Silverstein tour you just mentioned.
Yeah, we have Silverstein coming up, and then some overseas stuff that's not locked in yet and stuff. And then we're basically booked out until like next September. So
well, it's good. You're keeping busy, right?
Definitely staying busy. Very excited to go home and sleep in my bed though. I'm like, it's been a while, so we're excited to go home. It's actually we missed Christmas. Well, we didn't miss Christmas, but we missed like all the holiday festivities because we left the day after Thanksgiving and came home on Christmas Eve. So we missed like that whole like, you know, just like seeing the snow and the Christmas lights. Like, we were talking about that the other day. Like, dude, it's gonna be so sick just like laying in bed and watching Elf for the first time in like 2 years.
And anybody wants to keep up on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff, where can they follow you?
Major League NJ is basically for everything. All
right. Sounds good. Keeping it simple. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Of course.
Has been awesome. And everybody watching, make sure you check out Major League if you haven't already. Their albums on iTunes. Subscribe for more interviews, and I'll catch you later. Bye.